Setting attributes on models. In Python, getattr and setattr are standard functions used to get and set attributes on objects dynamically at runtime, without knowing the attribute name in advance. These functions are useful in situations where the attributes of an object are not known until runtime. However, Django has its own way of handling model fields with the add-to-class method. This method is a class method that should be used as a substitute for setattr when working with Django models. First of all, let's see how to use getattr and setattr to get and set attributes on an object in Python, and then we will see how to use the add-to-class method to add the slug field in our post model. You can open the Django shell by running the command python manage.py shell. Define a class named person. The class person will have a constructor method that takes two arguments, name and age, and assigns them as instance attributes of the same names. After defining the class, an instance of the person class is created by calling the constructor with the arguments John and 30. This instance is stored in the variable person. The getattr function is then used to retrieve the value of the name attribute of the person instance, and the result is stored in the name variable. The print function is then used to output the value of name, which is John. Now, let us repeat the same procedure to get the attribute of age. To get the value of the age attribute on the person object, we use the getattr function and pass in the object person and the name of the attribute as a string age. Now, use the print function to print the value of age. Now, let us set the value of the age attribute on the person object. We use the setattr function and pass in the object person, the name of the attribute as a string age, and the new value 40. We then print out the updated value of the age attribute using the dot notation, as in person.age. Great job! Now that we have a better understanding of set attribute and get attribute, let's dive into how we can apply this knowledge in Django. We'll be using the add-to-class method to add the slug field to our post model. This will make it easier for us to manage and organize our data in a more efficient way. Let's get started. Let's begin with importing the slug5 function, which will be used to generate a slug for the post model. Now, it's time to add a slug field to the post model using the add-to-class function. This line of code, add dynamically a slug field to the post model. Add to class is a method provided by Django's model base class, which is the meta class that creates all Django models. This method allows you to dynamically add new fields, methods, or properties to a model class after the model has been defined. The method takes two arguments. The first argument is a string that represents the name of the new field, method, or property you want to add to the model. The second argument is the value of the new field, method, or property. For example, in this code snippet, post is the model class that we want to add a new field to, Slug is the name of the new field we want to add. And models.slug field is the value of the new field, which is an instance of Django's built-in slug field model field. Add to class method is useful when you need to add fields, methods, or properties to a model class dynamically, especially when you cannot or do not want to modify the original model definition. When you are dealing with this kind of field like slug, it is also a good idea to add a signal handle. A signal is a way for different parts of a program to communicate with each other and respond to events that occur. In this case, we are going to be dealing with pre-save signal, which is sent by the Django object relational mapping just before a post instance is saved to the database. Let's start by defining a function called pre-save post. It takes three parameters: sender, instance, args, and quargs. In the next few parts, I will explain more about args and quargs, but for now, let us see what these parameter does. The sender parameter refers to the model class that sends the signal, in this case, the post model. The instance parameter refers to the instance of the post model that is being saved. The args parameter represents any additional positional arguments that might be passed to the function. And the quargs parameter represents any additional keyword arguments that might be passed to the function. The function checks whether the instance parameter has a slug attribute. If not, it generates a slug using the slugify function, which converts a string to a slug by replacing spaces and special characters with hyphens. Finally, the function connects to the pre-save signal of the post model using the models.signals.presave.connect method. This means that the pre-save post function will be called every time an instance of the post model is about to be saved to the database. Now, save the changes, migrate your database, and run the server. It is time to see the changes in the Django admin interface. In the Django admin interface, create a post leaving the slug field empty. Leave the slug field empty, and save the post. To see the generated slug, we will need to make some change in the admin file to display the slug. Add the slug in the list display. Then refresh the page to see the changes. As you can see, the slug was generated automatically after saving the post instance. How to access the metadata information of the post model and print certain attributes of that metadata. The metadata information of a model contains information about the model itself, such as the name of the model, the fields it contains, and the relationships it has with other models. This metadata is generated automatically by Django based on the definition of the model class. This information can be useful in various scenarios, such as debugging, testing, and introspection of Django models. For example, knowing whether a model is installed in the database or not can be helpful in ensuring that the database schema is up to date with the current model definition. Let's explore how it can be done in the Django shell. Import the post model. Assign the metadata information of the post model to the meta info variable. let's print the module name of the post models class. This is an F string, which is a way to format strings in Python 3.6 and later. The expression inside the curly braces is evaluated at runtime and inserted into the string. This is a string literal that is included in the formatted string. This is an expression inside the F string that evaluates to the module attribute of the post class. The module attribute is a special attribute in Python that stores the name of the module where the class is defined. The overall effect of this code is to print a string that says module name, followed by the name of the module that the post class is defined in. Next, let's print the value of the object name attribute of the post models options. In Django, when you define a database model as a Python class that inherits from Django.db.models.model, the name of the class is often referred to as the object name or the model name. So the object name for this model is post. Next, let's print the value of the app label attribute of the post models options. The app label attribute specifies the name of the app that the post model belongs to. Next, let's print whether the post model is installed in the database or not. The installed attribute of the post model's metadata information is used here, and it returned true because our app is surely installed. Field definitions. When working with Django models, it can be challenging to locate and use the fields that are defined for them. Django uses a technique called creation counter to keep track of the order in which fields are created, so they can be placed inside a list for future reference. This list is stored in the fields attribute of the model's meta attribute. By iterating through this list, we can retrieve all the field objects in order, which is extremely useful when dealing with models generically. Each field object has attributes containing all the options that were specified for it, so each item in the list can provide a wealth of information. This information can be used to create a custom form or template output, or any other feature that needs to work with fields on an arbitrary model. For example, the following code can be used to generate a file that displays names and current values for each field in a given object. Open the Django shell. Import the post model. Let's define a function called print all values that takes a single argument file name. The next line opens the file with the name file name in write mode and creates a file object f that we can use to write to the file. Then we loop through all instances of the post model using the all method of the objects manager of the post model. The next line writes a header line to the file that indicates the ID of the post being printed. Next, we loop through all fields of the current post instance using the meta attribute of the instance. The next line gets the human-readable name of the current field using the verbose name attribute of the field and capitalizes the first letter using the title method. Next line gets the value of the current field using the getattr function and passing in the post instance and the name of the current field. And then we write the field name and value to the file with the tab character and new line character for formatting. Lastly, we call the print all values function with the argument value for all instances.text, which is the name of the file we want to write our output to. Congratulations! You've just written a powerful Python script that extracts and stores all the values for your Django web app post into a neat and organized file. Now, simply navigate to your main project folder and you'll discover a brand new file named values for all instances. This file contains all the posts you have created so far, complete with their respective attributes and values. With this handy script, you can easily access and analyze your post data, as well as manipulate it for various use cases, such as generating custom reports or exporting data to external systems. And that's a wrap for this tutorial. I hope you found the session informative and engaging. and that you gain some valuable insights and skills that you can use in your own Django web app projects. If you enjoyed this tutorial and want to learn more about Django and web development, make sure to subscribe to my channel so you won't miss out on the next parts of the tutorial series. I have lots more exciting content and tips in store for you, so stay tuned.